What's up, everybody? Professional Picks back with another NFL Pick'em video. Week 15 discussing each and every one of the games. We got a full slate. Just a quick reminder, remember to like the video if you're enjoying the content. Subscribe to the channel to keep getting this week in and week out. And comment in the comment section about who you're taking and which picks you like this week.
Yep, let's jump
What
right
what
into
do
it,
we got
Woj.
in Thursday game?
Yeah, we got our Thursday game. No bye weeks left this season. Kicking off with the 7-6 Rams going to the 6-7 Niners. Pretty big NFC West divisional matchup, given that there isn't too much parity in the league right now. Both teams are on the outside looking in, with the Seahawks sitting at 8-5 at the top of the division, but each just 1 and 2 games back from the Seahawks. So definitely a big game here with just 4 left in the season. The Rams beat the Bills by 2 in an absolute shootout. I mean, like I've said it all year, but as long as Stafford, Kupp, and Nakua are on the field, even Tyron, he's been great this year once again. But that offense will keep them in games. And the Niners, I mean, maybe bounce back. Maybe they're back on track. Who knows? They haven't really looked like themselves this season, but they did just dominate the Bears on Sunday. Um, Pushing it to you, Woj, the Niners as 2.5 point favorites at home. A little surprised by this lineup. I didn't think the Niners would be considered a worse team on a neutral field. So where's your head at?
Yeah, I think most people's minds are probably at the point where they think the Rams should be favored even on the road in this game, the way they've looked with their wide receiver. Obviously, there's something here that you got to dig a little bit deeper into to understand the spread. And I think the real thing is that if there has been a strength on this 49ers defense, it has been their coverage unit, which has been one of the best, if not the best, most of the year. Right now, they're landing at third best in the PFF rankings, just behind the Chargers and Eagles, who have been really dominant in their secondary. So you're going to see the bread and butter of that Rams offense, that 1-2 punch of Nakua and Kupp slowed down a little bit because of the prestige of this 49ers secondary. And I think that it's a huge piece to consider in this game. And I think the other one is going to be the run game for the 49ers. You're seeing that they're playing, or when they did play, a below average run defense like the Bears, which is 16th overall in PFF grade. They can really use that to dominate the game, set up the play action pass, and succeed for Brock Purdy at quarterback. I would expect it to be a very similar game plan as the Rams are just a notch above the Bears in run defense at 15th overall in PFF. And then to add insult to injury, there are the third worst tackling unit. So I imagine the Niners' toughness and run game and leaning on their secondary to be a big storyline in this game. I'm going to take the Niners, who aren't necessarily out of this division and have a tough schedule. Actually, this whole NFC West has a tough schedule down the road, so it's going to get dicey here. But they're not out of it, and they're definitely playing for the season in this game at home on a short week. I'm going to take them in the better.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the right pick. I'm personally on the Rams. I'm not
Hard
gonna
not to
buy,
be.
I'm not gonna buy too much into the Niners win over the Bears. I mean they've been
Hmm.
dysfunctional since week 6.
Hmm.
I mean, they looked great, but they're playing a really bad team, maybe one of the worst teams in the league right now. Uh, yeah, I'm still going to take the Rams, but yeah, like I said, a little worried about the run game. But I mean, McCaffrey's done for the season, so I do think the Rams could steal this one on the road, and the spread indicates that would be a close game.
Yeah,
But
it's really hard. It's really hard to pick against the Rams given how they looked last week, obviously, but I just have to fade them. This is an interesting
yeah,
line here. This is going to be
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, we got the Cowboys. They're sitting at 5-7 currently, still playing in this Monday night game as we record. They're heading to Carolina, play the Panthers, who now sit at 3-10. We've been talking about in the last few weeks. Bryce Young's looks great. He looks really good against the Eagles again. If it weren't
yeah.
for Xavier Leggett's drop late in the game, Panthers could have won that game outright against Philly. With, like you just mentioned earlier, one of the best secondaries in the league. So I think Bryce Young's figured it out. I know there's still a few more games to go in this season, but I think he saved his job, and I'm not overly surprised by this line. I like the Panthers a lot here. Probably just money line minus 126. I just think the offense has looked a lot better. They've been playing inspired football. I mean, they're losing games against really good teams too. They played the Chiefs really well, the Eagles really well. I think they can win this game against the Cowboys on a shorter week, who, like we just said, playing on Monday night.
Yeah, it does not come to a surprise to me at all that you're on the Panthers here, given the way we've been praising Bryce Young with the way he's looked these last few weeks. And quite honestly, I'm right there with you. You've seen the Panthers slowly improve their PFF ranking too, and just look at the eyeball test. They've been improving without a doubt, especially offensively. I think their defense still lags a little bit, but they definitely gave the Eagles a run for their money that last game. Add on to the fact that you got the Cowboys here, who are looking solid-ish against the Bengals here. They're coming off a short week though, playing a Monday Night Football. That obviously aids the Panthers here. I like the Panthers, who have been building momentum and losing close games, to get over the hump and get another win here this week at home.
Yeah, I mean Cooper Rush has not been bad at all. He's one of the
No,
better backups in the league, and the Panthers' run defense. I mean, you mentioned the defense has been great, and it's been a huge problem. Philly rushed for over 200 yards, but the Dallas offense just hasn't taken advantage on the ground this far this season for me to be too worried about it.
yeah, one of the Panthers looking at like a second worst run defense. The third worst right behind or right in front of them is Dallas. So nothing great there for the Dallas run defense either. I think the huge thing for them is CeeDee Lamb, and he's playing hurt, not injured, but he's really banged up. He's still playing pretty well, but that's going to keep ailing and affecting him as the season drags on.
Yeah, absolutely. So both on the Panthers in this one, Woj.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Not often we agree.
no,
It's
especially on the Panthers.
yeah, yeah.
But but yeah, moving along, we got the 12-1 Chiefs now going to Cleveland, play the 3-10 Browns. One of the 8 teams in the NFL with 3 wins or less. But the Chiefs, they beat the Chargers by 2 on Sunday night in their typical fashion, as they have all season. And the Browns, they lost to the Steelers by 13. Really, Jameis's typical fashion there too. 2 touchdowns, moved the ball decent, but also the 2 interceptions. I mean, he's exciting to watch. Maybe we'll get some magic in the bottle, but it's really hard to decide if Jameis, especially with how stingy the Kansas City's defense has been this year. I mean, they've stopped pretty much everyone. I don't know how Jameis doesn't have at least 2 interceptions in this game. What do you? What is
My
your
my
thought?
my thoughts exactly here. Given how the Chiefs have been winning this game primarily on the backs of their defense and savvy offensive play calling, it's tough to see them. It's tough to see them blowing out the Browns, honestly, because they haven't really blown out anyone this year. The Browns actually have a better PFF defense than the Chiefs, albeit slightly. But at the same time, they're going to put some really elaborate defense in front of Jameis Winston in this offensive line that has not been a good pass blocking unit this season. So I'm expecting to see Jameis under a lot of pressure. Even without pressure, we've seen him more than willing to make mistakes. And I'm with you. It's hard to see him get out of this game at least without one interception. And we're used to seeing at least two in an interception count from him. I'm with you. I'm going to take the Chiefs spread here as they take advantage of a weak pass blocking unit and even run blocking unit for this Cleveland Browns team, which is very rare for them. But also, I mentioned it, and I think it matters more than people think. One of the worst tackling units, second worst in the league. You got to bring the Chiefs players down to get the chance. And we see far too often their guys getting quote unquote bailed out. But sometimes it's just them being better than the other team. And I think that's a situation here, again, where the Browns defense really struggles to bring down the guy with the first man.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Woj. Chiefs minus 5.5.
Yep.
Our lean there. Keep it moving. We got the 6-7 Miami Dolphins heading to Houston for the 8-5 Texans. Texans are off of a bye heading into this game. Sitting only at 2.5 point favorites at home. Dolphins, on the other hand, they beat the Jets by 6 in overtime to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. But that looked like the Miami team we were waiting for all season.
Hmm.
Waddle and Hill with 9 and 10 catches respectively, like 99 yards, 115 yards. Really what I thought the Dolphins were going to be all season long. I mean, never could have expected the injuries, but they're coming in this one. Definitely the spread indicates a close game. I'm curious where your head's at in this game.
I wish the spread was a little bit different because I feel like feel like you want to pick the Dolphins here. And it's almost too close to me because I don't like the way the Texans have looked this year, even in their wins, especially as of late. They haven't looked dominant. They haven't looked like they've built upon the really strong season ahead in 2023, despite a lot of reasons to believe that they would take a step up. It seems like it's a game that the Dolphins they're playing better football right now, and it's hard to quantify what that means because they certainly are playing better football. Texans, though, coming off a bye, they still have a fairly comfortable lead in this division as the AFC South is very uncompetitive, and the Dolphins here are looking to snag one of their last wild card spots in a very um, contested race there. I think I'm gonna. I haven't. God, I'm trying to decide, is this flash in the pan from Tyreek and Waddle, the offense that we've been waiting to see from the Dolphins? Is it a 1 week thing or are they going to stick with that? And with the trend I'm seeing, I'm not going to let last game sway my opinion of this Dolphins offense. I feel like that's going to recede or regress, if you will. And I'm going to stick with the Texans here as I like them coming off a bye. I like the weapons they have. I'm hoping Bobby Slowick and this offense can, reassess and get back some of the matches they had last year and get a win here and put themselves comfortably safe in this AFC playoff picture.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the Texans. I mean, while the Dolphins did look great last game, I mean, I'm a Jalen Waddle owner in fantasy, and he's
Mhm.
been rough all year. It's hard to expect to see that in next week after what we have throughout the past 14 games this year. So yeah, I like the Texans off the bye. I mean, we've talked about how good Slowick, Ryan's are as coaches, so I think they take advantage of that extra time, and they have been banged up. So I think Texans get back on track.
Yeah, agreed.
Not as exciting of a matchup. We got two of those 3-10 teams that we talked about earlier. The 3-10 Jets going to Jacksonville to play the 3-10 Jaguars. The Jets lost in overtime to the Dolphins in a game that they really should have won. They let
Mhm.
fall out of their hands late. 1-6 in their last seven. Things have not gone as planned since that Devontae trade. But they've still been competitive, though. 7 of the 10 Jets losses have been within 6 points. Um, so, yeah, I mean, the spread still indicates that they're favorites here on the road. There's no indication that Rodgers is coming out, and we could probably expect Mac Jones to be the starter in Jacksonville. I probably got to go with the Jets here, -3.5. I feel like they've been closer. That Jaguars loss to the Titans, or the Jaguars beat the Titans. My
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, they won 10-6. Um, they only put up 10 points in that game, and Mac Jones moved the ball, but like just again, that offense has not been great with Mac Jones under center. So I'm probably on the Jets here -3.5.
Yeah, nothing to it. I'm agreeing with you here. You don't want Aaron Rodgers out against Mac Jones, and I'm going to take the Aaron Rodgers side almost all day. So I'm going to be with you here, the Jets -3.5. I think this is one they wouldn't just for their pride. I really think so.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying too. Like, yeah, exactly like you said, Rodgers, Devontae, like, got to pick one up. They've been close.
Mm.
So let's keep it moving. We got the 8-5 Commanders going to New Orleans, play the 5-8 Saints. Commanders, another team coming off of a bye, heading this matchup. And the Saints beat the Giants by 3 on the help of a blocked field goal there at the end. Not the biggest win, especially considering Drew Lock started that game 0 for 11 passing. Uh, weren't able to pull away. The Saints do have less than 1% chance to make the playoffs, but there's still technically a chance. But they're 7.5 point dogs at home. Is there any reason for you to side with the Saints in this one?
No, I mean, I don't like taking a road team like the Commanders, who I don't think has a very good defense, by more than a touchdown here. But without Taysom Hill and Derek Carr now, you're really running this team thin in terms of weapons and explosive playmaking they can have. Obviously, we talked about Kamara and MVS, but there's only so much that you can use those guys. Like Kamara's really versatile because he's coming out of the backfield, but he's not a downfield threat. And MVS is really a one-trick pony in that seam route. So knowing that, I feel like I say it every week. I feel like it's very easy to scheme against this team defensively, and you saw that with the Giants. You don't have an above average defense by any means. So I think Commanders, correct me if I'm wrong, coming off a bye too. They are on a losing streak, or at least playing a lot worse than they were at the beginning of the season. And so they're looking to right the ship and hold on to that one of those few NFC wildcard spots. I think because the Saints have such a decimated offense, it's going to start to be time where they start to tail it in and phone it in. I think that might be now. I'm taking the Commanders reluctantly minus 7.5.
Yeah, I think I'm with you too. Like it's hard. I mostly because they're coming off of the bye, the extra time to prep, and like you said, they're 8-5. They're holding that last NFC spot right now.
The big
Um,
game.
yeah, so I mean, they need to not squander this spot to finish the season. I mean, coming off the bye is kind of when you need. We'll see if they get the cover though. I do think, like you said, defense isn't the best, but that
Yeah, I
seems like
don't know.
offense is.
Trying to see who's in this hunt here for the NFC.
I'll kick it off with the next one because it's our largest spread of the NFL season. It's the 8-5 Ravens. They're coming off of a bye, and Steelers, like we talked about, they won already, so they increased that lead in the AFC North. But the Ravens, they're going up against the 2-11 Giants, largest spread of the season. Um, Giants just lost to the Saints by 3. And like I said, Drew Lock opened 0 for 11. I mean, yeah, Ravens are going to win this game. 14.5 is a lot, but I still wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens covered it. Personally, not going to bet it, but that's probably who I would side with here.
Yeah, I think the Ravens destroyed the Giants here on the road. You saw the offensive output that the Giants were able to put up against the Saints. I think the Ravens really need this win coming off a bye. I think there's no question that they win it, like you said. But they're right now they're playing for a whole. They're playing for the division first of all. But even if they don't have that, they're playing for um, trying to get out of a road playoff game too. Like it's gonna be really hard if the road to the Super Bowl for the Ravens, who are still the third favorite in the AFC to win the Super Bowl, is always on the road. So I expect to see them coming out of these last few games with a vengeance, knowing that the Steelers have a very, very tough schedule down the road, and the Ravens most definitely have life. They're gonna be seeing them play their best football. I would gamble these last few weeks. So I'm gonna take the Ravens spread here.
Yeah, they're two back of the Steelers, but with 4 left, I mean, you never know.
Do they have one more game against the Steelers too?
I would have to look, but
I'll
it,
look it up. You go to the next game.
yeah, yeah.
I bet you it's their last game in this season is my guess. No, they play them the week after this.
Okay. I mean, that'll be a huge game. I mean, we'll see
Yeah.
what the Steelers do this week too. Maybe the Ravens could steal one. But this game, we got the 4-8 Bengals. Been pretty disappointing so far this year. They're going to Tennessee to play the 3-10 Titans, who have been almost just as disappointing, if not more. Just probably less expectations there in Tennessee. But we
Hmm.
have the Bengals. They're playing on Monday Night Football against the Cowboys. Titans lost to the Jaguars in a game where the Titans didn't even reach the end zone. Levis re-injured his shoulder, but he's not technically out with that injury. So I mean, we might see Rudolph, might see Levis. Not sure if it matters too much. I also feel like I'm siding with a lot of favorites here, but I still like the Bengals minus 4.5. Just like I mean, this Titans offense, they couldn't even score a touchdown against the Jaguars, whose defense has really been abysmal this season. I mean, Cincinnati's right there with them, but given that, Joe Burrow is still going to be able to score. So I'm with Cincinnati in this game.
Yeah, you said it all. Joe Burrow going into Monday Night Football, they mentioned on the broadcast, led the league at the time in passing yards and passing touchdowns. He's playing true MVP caliber football. If he continues that even slightly, there's no way in my mind that the this Titans team can hang with them offensively, especially knowing their penchant for turnovers, regardless of who's playing quarterback for them, quite honestly. I'm with the Bengals here to just put up points and run away from the Texans using almost their offense exclusively to win this game, if that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you in that one. Keep it moving. Next game, we have the 3-10 Patriots. They're going to Arizona, play the 6-7 Cardinals. Patriots are off of a bye heading into this matchup. Cardinals just lost to the Seahawks by 12 at home. Extends their losing streak to 3 straight now. They were just leading that division. and now have kind of fallen from their graces. Tied
Hmm.
with the Niners in that third spot. But on the flip side, we'll say Drake May's been solid. He's just kind of needs to cut back on the turnovers as most rookie quarterbacks do. There was 7 full games. He's got 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but he's definitely added some life to this Patriots team. Are you with the Cardinals? Is just under touchdown favorite at home, or you take the Patriots off the bye?
You're talking about teams that are they're playing for something. The Cardinals, who a couple short weeks ago, they were the favorite, odds-on favorite to win that division, probably given about a 60% chance to win the NFC West. And like you said, they've really fallen off that point. Their offense has faltered in my mind, and you're not seeing the much explosiveness or creativity that you're used to seeing from an offensive Kyler Murray, who's so improvisational, and you have so many guys around him that can play towards that strength. With James Conner being very versatile out of the backfield, and obviously Marvin Harrison at wide receiver, Trey McBride at tight end, ad-libbing plays as well. They got a ton of talent. They're not doing much with it. It's hard for me based on, watching these games to want to take the Cardinals here at 6.5. And so I'm not going to. I'm going to be on the Patriots on the road here to keep this game closer than you think, because quite honestly, the Cardinals have continuously underperformed versus my expectations these last few weeks after having a stranglehold on this division and playing in a lot of winnable games. So I'm going to be in the Patriots cover here. I am going to take the Cardinals to win, but I think it's going to be ugly and closer than I would think, honestly.
Yeah, I'm actually on the Patriots spread too. But you do make a point. Like the Cardinals still playing for something here. I mean, with Drake May as a rookie quarterback, I still think the Patriots are definitely going to try to win these games.
Yeah, he's playing to improve. They're very much playing on something for the Patriots.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, Cardinals. I don't want to go too much off recency bias, but I'm with you on the Patriots plus the 6.5 here. Moving on, we have the 6-7 Colts. They're going to Denver to play the 8-5 Broncos. I said a few weeks ago I thought the Broncos would fall from that playoff spot in the AFC, but they've held tight. Defense has showed up in big games. Bo Nix has done exactly what he needs to do. Big flashes some games, not as much others, but just really fitting that Sean Payton offense. But I mean, we have a somewhat exciting quarterback matchup with the Richardson versus Knicks here in Denver, minus 4.5 point favorites. I'll let you take this one, Woj. Both these teams are playing for something. The Colts are only 2 games out of that South Division, and who knows what the Texans are going to do.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I'm glad you brought that up. They're not out of this division because, like I mentioned before, the Texans have been stumbling here and haven't looked as great or as invincible as people once thought going into the season and even early on. And that being said, I think it's going to be tough for the Colts here to do much against this Broncos defense that has been really stifling opposing teams' offense outside of that Jameis Winston game. And you've seen Anthony Richardson really struggle with the intermediate and mid throws. He's great throwing it deep. He can make plays that just about no one else can from 50 yards down the field plus. But it's the stuff the defense keeps in front of them that they struggles with. And I think that's going to be the reason that I'm going to take the Broncos to win the game. But I think the spread is implying something too, that I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring. Sorry, I mean, total is going to imply that this thing's going to be a little bit lower scoring than you otherwise would imagine with this Broncos team that has been pretty solid with Bo Nix at quarterback. I echo everything you said about Bo Nix, but I think I'm going to take the Colts here to cover and lose in a low scoring under game. That's my trifecta pick for this one. That parlay would play pretty good.
Yeah, no, I kind of like it. I mean, like you said, or we just talked about, the Colts are still playing for something. Their defense has been solid. They're like the most solid team in the league. Not as
Yeah.
flashy, but but yeah, it's hard for me to side with Richardson at quarterback. I mean, he's he's exciting some games, but he could really lose some games too. I mean, he's had a ton where he's 50% completion or less. Just hard to move the ball downfield. So I'm gonna take the Broncos minus 4.5. I just trust Bo Nix to
Hmm.
complete those short passes a little bit more and keep the ball moving. But
Very
Bo was
fair.
good. Next up, potential Super Bowl matchup. We got the 10-3 Bills going to the 12-1 Lions. Bills lost by 2 to the Rams. And one of the more exciting games this season, Josh Allen accounted for 6 touchdowns in that one. And then the Lions, they beat the Packers by 3 on that Thursday night game. So they do have a little bit of extra rest coming into this one. I always think that's huge playing on that Thursday night. But yeah, I mean, great matchup. Best game on the slate. Where's your head at?
Yeah, I think you hit on at least one point that I wanted to bring up, and that's the Lions coming off a little bit extra rest here. I think it's going to pay extra dividends because the Bills played in a tight, physical, high-scoring affair that was very physically tolling for guys both sides of the offense, but especially Josh Allen, who was doing a lot more QB sneaks and being a lot more involved in the run game, which he always is, but even more than normal, and taking a little bit more of a beating than normal as well. And I think you're going to see a lot of points here as this total would imply. But the difference for me this game, as it often is the defense here. I've really respected what the Lions have done defensively this year, and I think you don't really have to look too much further than last game to make your opinion on the Bills defense. Lions third best overall defense according to PFF. Real strength for them being their coverage unit, which I think will help against the Bills. But really, Josh Allen can beat you both ways with his legs and his arms. But I mentioned the discrepancy in the defense. The Bills 24th overall defensively in PFF. So that spread is what I think will be too much for the MVP Josh Allen to overcome. And so I'm going to take the Lions to win and cover. And honestly, I feel really good about that just because that defense.
Yeah, I mean, this spread surprised me a little bit. Like, did you really expect the Bills to be plus just 1.5 in Detroit?
Um, I would have expected the Lions to be favored by more. I don't know if that's what you're
Yeah,
getting at.
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm just saying too. I don't know. It just feels a little bit trappy, but I mean, like you said, it's
Bills
hard not to
fifth
go with the
worst
Lions.
run defense. Like the Lions just should tear them up on the ground.
I need to double check it real quick. I'm like not trusting this line.
Let's make sure. They look.
Detroit's -2 now, so but yeah, it's probably
Same
just
thing.
moving. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm all over the line. I really like the Lions here. Maybe I'm
yeah,
foolish because Josh Allen's playing. It's hard to bet against Josh Allen with how great he's playing. Can you really count on Jared Goff to win you football games passing it? No, he's good when the passing game is secondary in that offense. Then he's lights out because all the eyes are on Gibbs and Montgomery. What happens if the Lions get behind early, then it gets a little scary for these guys as they're gonna have to rely on Goff to really push the ball downfield and keep up with this Bills offense. But I think if the Lions can dominate the run game, control the run game, which they should, given the discrepancy in rush offensive line for them versus the Bills defense, and keep the ball in front of them with their third best overall defense, I can see this game getting out of hand, honestly, and the Lions winning by a lot. I think it's all
I'm
about how the first quarter goes.
I'm with you on the Lions. I will say one thing. Dan Campbell, like, love the guy, but he does gamble quite a bit,
Hmm.
especially for how good this team is. Like, you don't really need to. You should just be more conservative in your play calling. Let the guys on the field control the game. I mean, it hasn't caught up to him this season, but I do think it'll hurt him at some point. Hopefully in the regular season, not in the playoffs. But I mean, he just like that fourth down against the Packers, that was just unnecessary. Could have blew the whole game. Worked out, so that's great. But I still don't understand it, especially when your defense is that good.
I'm with you. It definitely will burn him sometime. The question is the one time it burns you enough to prevent you from doing it again after how many times it's helped you? So it's hard to say. It's going to catch up to him eventually, or at least he's going to have a bad taste in his mouth after one game, and people are going to be questioning the call. But for how many times it's worked out for him, it's
Yeah,
hard to say after one bad
yeah, no,
occurrence that it's
yeah.
the wrong move. But I'm totally
Well,
with you.
yeah. I'm not
It's
saying I'm saying he's a great coach still. Like it's working out, so I'm not trying to knock it. I'm just like it's just game of odds. Like eventually, like it's not going to work out, and maybe you just trust the defense instead. Like in
Does he
a
make that same
situation,
call in the playoffs? I don't
probably
believe he
not.
does.
Yeah,
So I think he also knows the
I'm
situation a
saying
little
for a
bit.
game like this, though, still
Yep.
regular season. You're
Yep. Yep.
dominating 12-1.
They only have one game lead over the Vikings right now.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
tight
crazy.
division.
All right, let's keep it moving along. Next game, we got the Buccaneers sitting at 7-6, and they reclaim that NFC South after the Falcons have started to slip. Mike Evans got healthy again, and really the Bucks just got back on track. But they're heading to LA to play the 8-5 Chargers, who just lost to the Chiefs by 2 on Sunday night. Um, yeah, I mean the Chargers are banged up. Saw no Dolphins. That offense kind of struggled against the Chiefs defense throughout most of the game. Uh, got going a little bit there, but yeah, I'm curious where your head's at. I mean, the Chargers defense has definitely been great, better than the Bucks unit so far, but this is pretty much an even game here with the Chargers -3 at home.
Yeah, in my mind, it's going to be a close game. I'm not surprised to think anything different. I am surprised about this total being so high because I think if this game is going to be close, the way the game script is playing out in my head is that the Chargers defense is going to stifle the Bucks offense a little bit, given how great I think this defense has been all around for LA. Starts with a lot of guys, but you've seen Khalil Mack, even in his older age, still being really efficient there at D end. Derwin James playing great football in the secondary, and really everyone else doing a great job all around. And then you talk about their offense being pretty banged up. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins, who was great for them and a yards per carry monster at the beginning of the season, he's not going to be playing, as we all know. And then even McConkey, if he is playing, he didn't play last game and he's banged up. And so I don't think this Chargers offense is going to put up that many points. So my whole thesis is low scoring game where the Chargers eke it out because they're good defense. If anything, you see the Bucks offense keep rolling, and I'm going to be leaning towards the Bucks +3 here because I don't think you're going to get that output from the Chargers. So I think the big variable is what does that Chargers defense do versus this Bucks offense, and I think there's upside more so for the Bucks here than there is the Chargers. What do you think?
I think you explained that perfectly. Like, yeah, the Chargers they could keep this low scoring. In that case, if it's going to be a really slow scoring game, I still think the Bucks get some points on the board, so I like +3. But at the same time, yeah, I mean Baker, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, just a few backs emerging out of the for Tampa. So I think they just yeah, the offense is looking better lately. They just put up more points really in this one
Yeah,
with how banged up the Chargers are.
the real bogey is that this Bucks defense has been really porous this whole year, so we'll see if
Yeah,
that changes at all.
yeah, we'll see. But we got a few games left. One of our better matchups, if not better than that Bills game. But we have the 10-3 Steelers going to Philly, play 11-2 Eagles. Steelers just beat the Browns to maintain the two-game lead of the AFC North. And the Eagles beat the Panthers in a closer than expected game. Their defense has been great still. The run game also looked great. But Jalen Hurts in the passing game hasn't really gotten going lately. They're still been picking up the wins, but just averaging 135 yards in the air over the last three. So maybe something of concern there in a big matchup. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, I definitely like the Eagles here. As I talked about the Steelers having a really tough gauntlet schedule down the road. Um, but like you said, they haven't looked great. If you just look at these teams and took away everything, looked at just looked like their track record this year and really the whole body of work, you would be taking the Steelers +4.5 here. The big question is, do you think the Steelers are really legit enough to compete with a team like the Eagles that dominates the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, has a really solid secondary, like I mentioned, being the best coverage unit, and has a guy like Jalen Hurts, who even when he's not beating you in the pass game, really helps his team out with his legs. It's really tough, and I think I'm going to fade the Steelers here, and I think I'm going to take the Eagles here -4.5. It's tough because I want to find holes and relative advantages for the Eagles here, but I don't see a ton. The Eagles, or sorry, the Steelers, fourth best run defense in the league, so still a very formidable unit here. One of the best pass rushing unit in the league by a wide margin. Eagles are number two there. The only thing is they got a pretty weak secondary, but uh, things are not great between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, and maybe this is the game that changed that. But it should be close. I'm going to take the Eagles -4.5 just because I think they have more pedigree and just like kind of an eyeball test, or not even eyeball test because the Steelers have looked great. Just a field test of who's a contender and who's a pretender. And I think we can all agree the Eagles are contenders here.
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams are. I like the Steelers +4.5. I mean, you just mentioned how good that run defense and pass rush is. As I noted to kick off the matchup, Eagles averaging only 135 yards in the air over the last three. I
Crazy.
think that Steelers run defense, pass rush, really causes issues for Hurts. Don't have that dominant run game that they're used to relying on. And yeah, I mean, he will probably pass for more than 135 yards in this game, but I do like that matchup a little bit more on their end. So I think they cover in a close one.
The signs point to the Steelers. I gotta fade them.
Yeah, I mean,
They do.
that's
Mike
fine.
Tomlin wants to finish as close to 500 as he can.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, we just got a couple games left. Not a lot of time, but our best matchup left on the slate: 9-4 Packers against the 8-5 Seahawks. Packers just lost to the Lions. In a really close game, but to me it seems like they're just like a year behind, maybe. Kind of getting big brothered by the Lions in that division. But I mean, still going to be a playoff team, and the Seahawks take control of the NFC West. But sitting as a dog in this one. What do you like?
Yeah, when I've seen the Seahawks struggle this year, it's because of their inability to stop the run and kind of get bullied a little bit in the trenches, and that against their front seven. When the Packers have done well this year, it is because Josh Jacobs in that run game has been so great. And I think what I'm getting at is that that pattern will repeat. I really liked what the Packers have done offensively, running the football, alleviating a lot of pressure for Jordan Love. He hasn't had to throw the ball all that often. When he does throw the ball, it's either a terrific highlight play and he's making throws that I honestly questioning how he made, or he's throwing interceptions. He's got a little bit better on the turnover side lately. I think the Packers, who just played the Lions really tough, like you mentioned, they get a little bit extra time here, and I think they get the win with their strong run game. I think the Seahawks have to play for more, and so it's I don't like picking against them, but I do like the Packers here, coming off a loss and a long week in their relative strength in the run game here.
Yeah,
Kenneth Walker, keep an eye on his status.
the Packers match up really well. It's just like Seahawks leading division +3 at home. Those also feel pretty nice. Like I don't know if the Seahawks are 6 points worse than the Packers, but the Packers do match up very well. I think
Packers are, if I saw something, this will be the last point we make in this game. I saw something that the Packers, Lions, and Vikings are like 27-3 against everyone that isn't in the NFC North. Like these guys are all really good. Like let's see some team outside the NFC North beat them. And so with that, I'm going to stick with the Packers.
I like it. I like it, Woj. You swayed me. All right. Your favorite NFC North teams. Second to last matchup we got here, but the 4-9 Bears. They've lost seven straight. They're going to Minnesota, play the 11-2 Vikings. Just behind the Lions there for the NFC. Also with the Eagles. But I mean, I'm not expecting this to be a very competitive game. The Bears' offense is just like terrible. Couldn't barely move the ball in that last one against the Niners. The Vikings beat the Falcons handedly. I mean, this -7 seems almost too good, but that's probably where I'm still siding. What about you, Woj?
Didn't the Bears really compete against the Vikings the last time they played and kind of got, I don't want to say
They
hosed.
always do. That's my one thing. They
They
always
lost
seem
in
to have close
overtime.
games.
Bears, this I have no basis to say this based solely off memory, which may be incorrect. Bears show up in prime time. They're going to cover here. They might even win this game. It's hard to say that, but they're going to cover here. There's a little bit of a bone to pick with this game at the overtime. I think their defense matches up with the man-to-man you need to play against these guys. Um, I think the Bears are going to cover.
The last few years, I mean, the Bears and the Vikings games have always been close, I feel like.
Possible. The Bears versus every NFC opponent that's not the Packers is a close game.
I feel like the Bears are falling off the wheels a little bit, but now you're getting me back on the
They
wagon.
might have given up. They might have given up. No, it's always fun to beat your division opponent.
Yeah,
No love lost.
right.
Last game, what do we
Yeah,
got?
last game, speed round. That's why we didn't say too much after this one, but we got the 6-7 Falcons against the 2-11 Raiders. Aiden O'Connell, our guy, got hurt. We'll see him in this one. But I mean, do the Falcons get back on track? They have to get back in that race with the Bucks, right?
Yeah, the Raiders coverage grade continues to be far and away the worst in the league. You got a lot of weapons for Kirk Cousins. All he's got to do is not commit turnovers. I think
It's
the
terrible.
Falcons will rout the Raiders here.
Kirk's been 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in his last 4 games.
He's due.
But this is where he gets back on track.
They couldn't ask for a better opponent to get back on track. Quite honestly, could
Yeah,
not have get drawn
I
up a better
mean, yeah,
situation.
and they're well within reach of the playoffs still.
Yeah, they're like somewhat contending for a wild card spot too. It's not.
Yeah,
There are avenues for the
true.
Falcons. I don't think they're going to do it, but the hope is there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they fell off so bad. I was really high on them
You were.
mid-season.
You were.